Well, good morning, everybody. It's 10 o'clock, in fact, 1 minute past 10. So let's start this webinar. Thank you for joining the webinar from Chalkstring today on procurement, how to streamline procurement like a construction pro. Firstly, welcome. If it's your first webinar with us, just a bit of housekeeping to start off with. Hopefully you heard the webinar announcer when you joined the meeting. If not, please just check your audio settings, which is in the GoToMeeting panel. We do recommend a headset. Hopefully you're wearing headsets, so that is for the best experience. So if you can grab a headset, if you haven't got one, please do plug that in and adjust your settings. And if you can just push back or minimize all your windows so you can maximize my screen, that will again give you the best possible experience as we go through the webinar. We will be mixing up a bit of PowerPoint slides to talk about the principles and also the software as well during the webinar. So that's the housekeeping done. So introductions to anybody who doesn't know me. My name is Barry Chapman, and I'll be your host for this webinar. I'm a director and a co-founder of Chalkstring, and my background is very much in engineering and quantity surveying within construction, having worked for contractors and subcontractors over the years, and I've been specifically involved in construction software for the last 20 or so years. So that's a bit about me, and you can find my details on LinkedIn. If you want to find out more about me, my contact details are there. So I'll be taking you through this webinar today. So the agenda really for this webinar is quite short, quite simple. And what I'd like to do with you is explore, first of all, some of the challenges that we all face with procurement in construction. Some of the day-to-day challenges that hopefully will relate to your businesses and you can understand where we're coming from, but the things we see based on experience from customers. Then looking at a potential solution to overcome those challenges. That then links into then an introduction to Chalkstring. So again, if you're not familiar with the product, we are focusing on procurement today, but I'll be able to give you a sort of very high level overview of what the software is about, and then we'll demonstrate specifically the procurement side of the software. So just focusing purely on procurement, and obviously then questions and answers at the end. So you are in listen only mode in this webinar, so I can't hear you because of the number of people on the call, but you can type questions into the chat box, the GoToMeeting chat box if you wish to, and we'll try and get through some of the questions at the end depending on timing, and if we can't answer them all, we will make sure we get back to you with answers. So quite a simple agenda for today. So let's start off with the challenges or typical challenges that contractors face when procuring. And this is based off experience of working with customers as they come to us and talk to us about their problems, and we onboard them on Chalkstring. So these are sort of generic challenges we see. And these are really industry challenges rather than company specific. So the first one we see quite a lot of is that within your business, it's quite possible that there are many different people involved in procurement, ranging from buyers to site managers to contracts managers to accounts teams, etc., and others. And these people all have different roles in the process, whether it's ordering or whether it's recording deliveries or approving invoices or preparing invoices. So each person has very likely different roles, different responsibilities, and in this day and age, quite differently. They're based in different locations. The most basic being some people are maybe in the office, and the other guys might be site-based. So how do you possibly coordinate that many people with different roles, all needing different information when they're traveling about all over the place? And that presents a lot of problems for a lot of people we speak to. The second thing then is that we see that waste or unnecessary waste is commonplace. A lot of customers tell us that they order reactively based on phone calls or WhatsApps coming in from site. There's no way of checking what they need, so they have to just trust what they're told, or they base orders based on gut feel, and particularly when you've got complex contracts with different phases, you're basing instinctive sort of orders out rather than basing on fact. So by definition, there's going to be an element of potential over ordering there. And if you've got multiple different suppliers available with multiple supply price lists, project-specific pricing, etc., it's very easy to get in a muddle and use the incorrect pricing and potentially pay over the odds. So wastage really covers both excess quantities and paying too much inadvertently. And that's a problem we see all the time. And of course, that is just lost profit or erosion of your profit, of course. And of course, modern construction is incredibly fast-paced. And again, this is one of the biggest challenges our customers seem to face, is just the sheer volume of changes, the sheer number of variations that are popping up all over the place. And as things are constantly changing on a day-to-day basis, how on earth can you expect to be totally up to speed with everything on a day-to-day basis and have the confidence when things are changing so regularly and so rapidly, and frankly, some very big changes as well. And then this is something that a lot of our customers do wrestle with. Presumably, you'll have multiple different distributors or suppliers within your supply chain that you can choose from. And if you've got different suppliers, you'll obviously have potentially different supply lists, price lists coming from those suppliers. So staying on top of the different options for pricing is a challenge in itself. And of course, that then goes up a notch when you factor in the fact that prices are constantly changing, not just at year end, but midway through the year as well. And different types of material, of course, are changing at different rates. And then you put in project specific or supported pricing in there as well. So you've got all these different prices at your fingertips. How on earth can you manage all that and make sure that you're buying what you need from who you need and making sure you're paying the prices or the best prices you've agreed? And that gives a bit of a headache to a lot of customers we speak to. And then, of course, there's the sheer volume of orders that you're juggling, depending on your contract size and, of course, your business turnover, but potentially hundreds, if not more, of supplier orders. So how do you track them all in real time? What status they are. What's been sent to the supplier. What's been delivered or what's been partially delivered. What's been invoiced. All that level of detail. You'll have processes in your business, but to be able to instantly tell the status of every order and all the associated information is very hard for many companies we speak to. So this is all about trying to pull that together. So you've got that visibility of many different orders, and even getting down to the level of who has signed for it, were there issues with damage or so on, so that you've got that audit trail for speaking to your supplier regarding the invoicing. So when you then come on to reconciling the supplier invoices, we do find that a lot of customers or contractors we speak to honestly pay invoices based on trust because they haven't got the time or the visibility to be able to contest or even check the invoices. It's come from a big company like SIG. It has to be right, surely. And that's the basis on which a lot of invoices seem to get paid. But at best, if you do want to check it, there'll be a long-winded process with lots of bits of paper being passed across people's desks. And that's assuming, of course, people are in the office to pick up the paperwork and check the invoices. So it's very hard to know what to approve, the status, what's been delivered, what to query, what to reject, and give yourself that position of control over your paying your suppliers rather than reactively just paying everything. And of course, with so much going on, it becomes incredibly difficult to know or analyze what you've bought. And this could be at a project level, so knowing exactly what you've bought on a project and what's on site and what your outstanding balances are and what any deviations are from your tender prices and quantities. How do you analyze that in detail when things are going wrong to work out what's going wrong or where you're making good money? So it's hard to analyze that if you don't have a central log of all your orders and don't have this at your fingertips. But moreover, taking that to a business level, it's very hard to analyze your overall spend as a business in terms of rebates. So if you do get rebates coming from distributors, excuse me, you have to trust that their figures are right and just accept the money gratefully rather than actually be able to query it, question it, and dig out your version of events and compare it. And even down to things like wastage, you'll be making wastage assumptions. Most customers we know would just put a 10% on everything, but that could be very conservative in some areas and hence over ordering, or it could be light in other areas. So it's about being able to have that information to analyze your spend at your fingertips. And of course, we talked about people earlier on, but you've got all these different teams across the business. Is how do you ensure that everyone can access this data, but only at the level that you want them to? And a classic example here would be the buyer, obviously buying the materials at a certain quantity and rate. But when it comes to site for the deliveries, most customers we deal with don't want site managers to know the commercial side of it and how much has been paid, the rates you're paying for the materials, because it's highly sensitive for obvious reasons. So it's about giving people the appropriate level of access to information and controlling that. And then also things like communicating with your accounts team. How do you fluently pass information from remotely to the accounts team for payment? So it's about connectivity of the team, but appropriate use of levels of information. And a big piece about all software, of course, is productivity and automation and how software can obviously take the burden for you. Well, if you're manually raising purchase orders using carbon copy books or even Excels or however you're doing it, but you're not automating that, or you're producing site requisitions via text message or WhatsApp or whatever it is, it's very manual. It's not an efficient way of working, and frankly, it opens up businesses to risk. You know, an error there will have an error downstream, which can be very costly. So it's not a very productive way of working when we're speaking to most contractors. So those are the sort of key challenges we see contractors face in terms of procurement. And trying to summarize that in one slide, what we then see, and this is a very simplistic slide, is the reality from the purchasing is we see that ordering is very often based on finger in the air, gut feel, say so information, so it's not necessarily accurate. Then it comes to site, and very often the delivery notes aren't even recorded or they get lost. So there's no evidence of the order has been placed. So there's no audit trail for you, but it's very hard then to sign off the invoices. And therefore, when you come to the invoices, the reality is they often are paid on trust because you don't have the visibility of the order, the delivery tickets, and the invoices all side by side to reconcile and approve the invoices. So you clearly have a process that works in those three areas, but it's how connected, how streamlined it is. So enough about the challenges. Hopefully you can relate to some of those points, but they're typically what customers tell us. So our solution to this is pretty straightforward. Firstly, it's about having an integrated system that manages your purchasing, your deliveries, and your invoices, and it's totally connected. So there's 100% visibility of the whole procurement cycle. And the kind of people we then see get involved in this, typically, and this is all very symbolic, it's typical of a business, it's not necessarily how you might work, but it's just trying to give you an example of what we see with most customers, is first of all, the buyers would start the process, and obviously they create the purchase orders, but POs are generally generated automatically by the software. And I'll go in and show you some of these things in a minute. But the purchase orders are based on a live work scope or a live material bill. So they're changing at all times based on your scope of your project and how your variations are coming in and so on. So they always know they're buying the right quantities. And you can filter out by zones and different work packages to try and phase and buy the right quants at the right time. Automatically, it applies who the supplier is and the price. So there's no room for error on that side of thing. And the cost of that purchase order is instantly accrued into your project. So when your surveyors are doing the project cost reporting at month end, it automatically includes all the accruals of costs instantly. So the buyer has a major part to play, obviously, and they tend to kick off the process. We see site managers getting involved, and I've sort of drawn that guy straddling a wee bit between purchase orders and deliveries, because we see site managers can place requisitions in the software to actually let the buyers know what they need. But ultimately, once the delivery turns up on site, they can log the delivery, they can track the POD, take a copy of the delivery note, and ultimately they have a very clear picture of what's been delivered to site, therefore what's outstanding. And of course, anytime they can view their delivery schedule, so they know that the outstanding materials that are due to come to site, who are they coming from, what are the materials, what are the quantities, and where do they need to deliver them to on site to avoid double handling. So it's a clear picture of the outstanding deliveries due to site. And generally, the site manager has quite an important part to play there. Contracts managers, if they need to, they can see the status of every order just by tapping in and seeing where it is in terms of whether it's been sent, delivered, partially delivered, and they'll know what deliveries are due, so they can coordinate with the labour masters from a labour perspective. Administrators within business have a huge part to play because they sit very central to this, because they can manage and update all your supplier pricing as it fluctuates, because a system is based on a series of agreed prices which change all the time. Those need to be updated, so that's generally done by administrators. And they can also put in invoices as they come into the business into a system ready for approval, and that's an admin function for most businesses. So your administrators play a part here as well. And then this one is down to your processes and whoever approves your invoices. And typically we say it's either surveyors or buyers, but it could be directors or anyone else in the business. They have a part to play to check the invoice and to filter out a specific project and review the invoice, and see warnings if it's not correct or if it's overcharged. Again, I can go into that detail in a minute. And they can see access to the the original purchase order and all the delivery tickets to see whether the order has been delivered to site, etc., before they either approve or query or hold an invoice. So there's a very logical workflow at this point. And then ultimately, the accounts team then have a job to do in actual paying your supplier and actually making the transaction of paying the money to the supplier. All this information, if that can pass through to an accounts team so they can do their job, then that's the perfect scenario. So a single integrated procurement system, which hopefully that picture covers, might look like this. So this is just some screenshots from the software we'll go into in a minute, but this is showing, first of all, a material bill for a project. You can see very clearly for each material type. You can see down the bottom left, you can see, if I can wake my mouse up, where's my mouse gone? There it is, sorry. You can see for this particular material type, you can see we're looking at a price that's allocated to it, a balance of materials, the unit of measurement, and then the quantity required for this job phased out, in this case, over 3 phases, level 1, level 2, level 3. So the buyer has a very clear picture of what materials need to be ordered for these different phases of the project. Secondly, you can filter out and view this in different ways. So for example, here, I'm looking at the dry lining work package, but I can filter out by different work zones, different materials. So I could search, for example, for all metal work for phase 2, for example, or level 2, and it would show me all the materials I need. So it's a very clear way of filtering out just what you need to see and what you need to buy. And you can also order in bulk. So if you're doing residential work and you want to do a plot pack, I could, for example, come in here, click on that plus button, and it would add in all the materials I need, all the balances of materials I need for that one zone or that one plot. So this is just a snapshot of the material bill within Chalkstring. We'll go in and show this in a minute. What this then leads to is a single screen where you can see everything on one page. So for example, this material order, number 530 for project 9088, we can see it's partially delivered. We've ordered £16,700 worth of materials. We've had £13,000 delivered. We've been invoiced the full £16,700, but we haven't yet approved it, presumably in this case, because it's not been fully delivered. So you've got all the information about your order in a nutshell. Then if you want more detail, you can go in and have a look at all that detail. So I can see delivery dates, site notes, the materials you've ordered. I've got all the quantities we've ordered, the quantities that have been delivered, the rates, etc. Then you can get into seeing all the deliveries. So this records all the PODs against this order. And then ultimately in the bottom right, you've got all your invoices as well. So everything is in one place. That then means when you come to your invoices, you can then see all your invoice information in here. So we can see this is actually is under query to SIG. We can see details about the order itself. We can see it's gone orange because it's higher value on the invoice than has been delivered. So it's giving me warnings. So you're getting this kind of level of information at your fingertips within the system. So that's, if you like, the solution to the problems we've outlined. So as an introduction to Chalkstring, I'm not going to go into this in detail, but for those of you who haven't seen Chalkstring before, essentially it is an integrated project cost management system for contractors. And it manages everything from pricing a job up front, right through to the procurement, right through into valuations, applications for payments, paying subcontractors, right through to final account. It's a single integrated system based in the cloud. So essentially, what you've got is this single set of data, which is cloud hosted, so you can access it on site or wherever you are with iPads and phones and tablets and so on. And every person within your business, regardless of their role or their responsibilities, is accessing the same set of data at all times. And obviously, we've touched on some of these roles already. So that's what Chalkstring is. In terms of what it does, is at the center of Chalkstring, there is a database of your materials, your suppliers, and your pricing, all the core information that your business relies on. And what Chalkstring enables you then to do is to price the job pre-contract. And if you secure the job, it then enables you to then run the job live. So you're able to post-tender review it, value engineer it, and review the tender. So you've got both the pre-contract and the post-contract side of the project within one system. You can add variations. You can do the material bills and purchase orders, which we'll talk about today. Delivery tickets and invoices. Again, the pink and the orange areas are the areas we're focusing on today. But it also enables you to do progress and valuations. applications to your client, pay your subcontractors, and give you real-time cost reporting. So it's an end-to-end system for your whole business. And if you have commercial managers or estimators, then they can benefit as well. And of course, it talks then to your account system, which is very relevant for the topic of procurement, which we're talking about today. So we're focusing very much on the pink and the orange areas of this wheel. So I'm going to flip over to the software now and just show you a few things within the software. I would stress this, I'm not trying to demonstrate the whole product. I'm focusing purely on the procurement part of it. So if you do want more information, obviously, please just shout at any stage. So hopefully you can see now the Chalkstring software. So this is, you can see my.chalkstring.com. So it's a true web-based application. And I'm looking here at a specific project, 9087, which happens to be Radisson Hotel in Southampton. And I've got all my information about my project at my fingertips. And I'm not trying to explain the detail of this in this webinar today. But what you'll see down here is all the tools that manage the project. So tracking progress, ordering materials, paying labor, putting in applications, etc. These are the primary tools that enable you to manage this live project. So let's take a start by looking at the pricing. So for example, if I go into this project, we can see there are 3 work packages. We have a dry lining work package, a ceilings, and a variations package. And these are just examples. So you can have as many or as few as you choose. But if I go into dry lining and look at my rate build-ups, then we can see I've got, in this case, 5 bill items that are being, the rate build-ups, if you like, that are being worked on. And against each of these, of course, I have a set of quantities. So for that top 2.7 to 3 meter high partition, you can see these are the quantities on all 5 levels of this particular project. So it's all based on rate build-ups and quantities. Within each rate build-up, of course, I have all the materials that we need to buy. So if, for example, I want to look at this 72 mil deep channel, at the moment we're paying £2.53 per meter, and I can see that we're buying that from SIG. So the estimator has allocated a supplier and automatically therefore allocated their price against that material, which is used for the estimate. But just to show you this, I have at my fingertips access to all my available pricing within Chalkstring. So simply clicking on that material, I can see, actually in this case, I have 3 available prices, SIG, Travis, or CCF, and I can pick up any of those I want to and apply those to the project simply by clicking on it. And that's then changed the price accordingly. But not just that, it's changed the supplier for the purchase orders. Excuse me. So what I'm trying to show is the amount of information at your fingertips. Furthermore, if you wish to, you have the option here to be able to generate material quote requests. So if you would like specific pricing from a supplier for a project, then our software will automatically export out a summary of the materials within this project. So hopefully you can see an Excel file open up now and you can see a list of all the materials grouped by different material types. And this then means that this sheet, which includes, of course, quantities, can be sent to suppliers and they can put their best project specific pricing in here to enable you to recost the job with those better prices on it. So you've got that level of control from the system, and all you then need to do is apply that quote to the project. So based on the fact you've got your scope of works and your quantities and you've got all these prices, when you then come to the materials section of the software, this manages your entire procurement cycle. So it starts with a material bill, and it manages purchase orders, and it manages invoices and deliveries, and even a delivery schedule. So everything to do with procurement in this one single window. And you don't need to do this when you're using the software, but I just want to show you this because it's quite important, is if I export out a material bill, what this is going to do is tell me in real time the status of all our materials on this project. So again, another Excel file opened up, and hopefully you can see a list of all the materials that have been identified on this contract together with their brands, any different configurations, specifics, etc. It's produced all this for me. It knows the quantities we need for the project. It knows the quantities we need when wastage is also included within it as well, so based on the wastage allowances. It knows the current prices we've got allocated against the materials. So there's that £2.61 I applied a minute ago. And then it knows the quantities across your entire project. So these quantities here are per zone or per phase of the project. So for phasing of your ordering, you could very quickly provide this as a call-off order to your supplier at the beginning of your contract to say, look, there's your first phase, and here's the dates when we're going to need it. Here's your second phase, and so on. You've also got a summary here of what's been ordered to date. On this contract, we've not ordered anything, but it would be a summary of what's been ordered. It would know what materials are on site. Again, we don't have any in this case. The balance, the outstanding for the rest of the contract, so you know your exposure for cash flow, and also any deviations from tender. So if you've tendered certain prices and certain quantities, then it's going to start giving you any deviations from that here. So we can see I've made a couple of adjustments here, and straight away you can see, in fact, that's the one, that's the 72 mil deep channel there. By me bumping the price up, changing the supplier, I can see I've had a net cost of £184 on the contract from that change. So you have this complete status of your materials at all times. But in terms of using the software, it's really simple. All you need to do is go into the work package. So again, I'll just use dry lining here, but notice all your variations can be in here as well. If I go into the dry lining work package, then this is then giving me a complete summary of all the materials we need on this contract, together with the material, the quantity, the price, the distributor. All that information here is in one place. And you can go further than that. You can filter out if you wish to. So if I only care about level 1, for example, then that's now just showing me all the materials we need on level 1 of this contract. You can go even further and you could filter out and say, I want to see all the metal, and it will highlight all the metal for you. So it's a very quick way of viewing exactly what you need. And this is always based on your live project scope. So as you remeasure and add variations, these numbers are constantly being updated for you. So what this then means is I can create a purchase order. So let's say, for example, I want to add in all this material, or 462 meters. I'm simply going to add that into a purchase order, and this is the balance goes to 0. Let's also do that one. I'll just do 2 or 3 materials just to show you the principles. And let's do these ones as well. So I've just added 3 materials into the system. And as I say, there's a way you can add them all in simultaneously if you wish to. What that's now done for me is it's created me a draft purchase order. Well, actually, in this case, it's actually created me 3 purchase orders. And the reason being is those 3 materials are actually allocated to different suppliers. And okay, this is a bit made up to show you how it works. I mean, it may just be you buy everything from one supplier, but the point is, by including the material, automatically it allocates it to the appropriate supplier. And you can click on every purchase order and you can see a summary of what you've included within that PO. And obviously in the real world, this would be a long list of materials. And this is like an Amazon shopping basket. It stays open until you're ready to confirm the order. When you want to confirm the order, you simply click on the confirm button. You can put in things like delivery dates. It knows the delivery address. You can have site contact numbers. If you've got people allocated to your project, you can do that if you wish to. It knows all that information if you want to. In terms of ordering quantities, it knows that we need 1,650 linear meters, and therefore it knows that it's 55 packs. But of course, we have the option to be able to round up or round down to the nearest pack or pallet, or however it's packaged to come to site, so that you're not ordering parts of packs. Okay, so in this case, let's just go to the nearest pack, which is 55 packs. And when I confirm the order and download it, I can put site notes on here. So, you know, deliveries before 9 a.m. If I could type, I can't type today, 9 a.m. You can do those sorts of site notes if you wish to, but ultimately that's then going to create a purchase order automatically. So that's been generated as we speak. On there is all the key information. Hopefully you can see at the top, you'd have your logo. You'd have all the information regarding the supplier, their address, the delivery address, the contact information and phone numbers, an order number, the project information, who the client is. And then of course, you've got the detail here of what it is you're ordering with all the details, the quantity you're ordering, and the software automatically converts things from, in this case, packs to units to measure. So those 3 numbers are constantly being balanced, and it's checking them against each other all times. The rate that you've allocated against that material, and therefore the price, and even the fact that I've generated this. So everything is being date stamped, so we know that me as a buyer, I'm the guy that created the PO at 10:30 today on the 6th of May. So You send that to your supplier as an Excel or a PDF, and immediately you mark it as sent. That now instantly accrues that cost. So that order is valued at £2,260. That cost has been allocated straight away to the job as an accrued cost. So there's no need to pull off reports at the end of the month to find out what materials you've ordered from your accounts team. It's just here. It knows everything about it. It's been sent to the supplier. It's 2260. We've had nothing delivered, nothing invoiced, and nothing approved. So it's just a sent order at this point. So then the next thing, of course, would be I've now taken my buyer hat off and I put my site manager hat on. I'm on site and we need to log a delivery that's coming in. So I can come into the software on my iPhone or my Android phone, log the delivery. It would have a list of all the materials on this order. If they're delivered in full, you simply tick the box and that then fills in all your quantities for all the materials. It may be, of course, it's a partially delivered order. So let's just say there's only 45 packs have been delivered. So it's not a full delivery. I can get my phone out, take a snapshot of the POD, which has got signatures on it to confirm that, and store the POD within the system so that the whoever's checking the invoice has that information at their fingertips. And as soon as I update the delivery totals, you can see it's now a partially delivered order where we've had £1,849 delivered against an order of 2260, and there's the POD. So I'm now going to take my site manager hat off, and I'm going to put an admin or an accounts hat on. So at the end of the month, I get an invoice from CCF for this order, and I can simply attach the invoice within here. And most companies would tend to put their invoices into their account system, which is the obvious place to put it, and it's always been done that way. But it doesn't have any visibility of the wider order. So by putting it in here, if I give it just give it a name, ABC 1234 or whatever, it's just the invoice reference number and a value. So let's say the value is 2260.50. So this is an admin function, putting in a reference and a value, and indeed scanning a copy of the invoice. So I've got in here it's a dummy invoice. So hopefully you can see there I've put the invoice in with all the information. I've got a value against it and an invoice reference, and that's an admin role. Now what I've got in the system is a very clear audit trail of this order. So first of all, I can see the invoice went in today. It's in review status, so somebody needs to make a decision on it, and we were invoiced for 2260. We can see it relates to order 549, and if I click on that button, I can see all the details of the order. I've got the order value, I've got the delivered value. So actually this is going orange to give me a warning that if I approve this payment, it will exceed the value of the goods delivered. And equally, I won't show it, but if the invoice value was higher than the actual order value, this would go red to instantly tell you something is wrong. So it's up to you then whether you wish to query this invoice and put it on hold, or whether you wish to approve it, and if so, what you wish to approve. So it might be, this is just one option, it might be you say, well, let's only approve for payment the value that's been delivered. And this is entirely up to you how you wish to handle this. So I'm going to pay that amount, and that's now approved, that value for payment, and it's calculated. Actually, it was all metalwork, and it's working out nominal codes and so on for you. So that's the process of ordering, logging deliveries, and logging invoices. And what this then means is this is very much on one project. This is order 549 on this specific contract. And what you see over time is you then see a list of all your orders appearing here in the project. So anyone connected to this project can zoom in and see a list of all the orders, whether they're open or whether they've been completed, all the invoices with their status. So that invoice there we can see has been approved, all the delivery schedules, etc. Everything to do with this contract. And so if I go to delivery schedules, you can see we've got some materials outstanding. We've ordered 550 lengths due for level 1. We've had 450 delivered, and therefore we've got 100 lengths outstanding, which need to go to level 1 when they come in. So that's very much on a job by job level. Taking it up a notch then, if we come away from this particular contract, and I'm putting my accounts hat on, there's two sides to the software. We've done everything on the on-site commercial side of the software. If we step back to the off-site side of the software here, one of the buttons is the accounts team. And this gives me visibility of all my information across the whole business now. So if I go to, for example, all my orders, this isn't job specific now. This is every order across the whole business. And you can see at the top there's the Radisson Hotel CCF partially delivered. I've been invoiced 2260. I paid 1849. I've approved it. So I've got that order there. But this has then got information about everything. So you can then filter by supplier if you wish to and see all your orders, whether they've been partially delivered, sent, cancelled, complete, etc. So it's a summary of everything. And the yellow bar across the top shows you all the different filters you've got to be able to manage that. But if I was an accounts person at month end, what I'd probably want to do is go to my invoices and say, okay, let's now have a look at all the invoices that have been approved for payment. And that's filtering out every invoice that's been approved and therefore needs paying. And again, you can filter this out in different ways. You can obviously export that out, or indeed, you can export it out to account software. So this will give you an export out to accounts where it sends a batch of information across to any account system, Sage, Xero, QuickBooks, Evolution being the four probably most common ones we come across. But this will export that information out seamlessly via a CSV file so that the accounts team receive all the information about what's been approved for payments so they can make the transactions. So during all that, hopefully that gives you a flavor for what the system does and how integrated and tight it is and how visible everything is. The only final thing I wanted to say here is that I've been wearing all these sort of different fictitious hats of buyer, site manager, contracts manager, admin, accounts, director, etc. It's all about control. So within the system, you can define all your users, and against each person, you can allocate different roles. And each role has different levels of authority, responsibility. So for example, if I went to, I don't know, for example, a buyer, for example, or a site manager, and these can be controlled by you, then in there, you can quite simply tick or untick what you want each person to be able to create, read, update, delete, etc. So you can lock roles or people down to very, very specific things you want them to see. And you can even lock people down to specific jobs. So your site managers could be locked down just to the job that they are running. So there's no visibility beyond that. So from a demonstration point of view, that's really all I wanted to cover today on the software. As I say, just focusing very much on procurement there. So if we go back into the presentation again, obviously as we're drawing to a close on this webinar, I thought it was worth just sort of saying, well, who uses Chalkstring? Who's a typical customer for Chalkstring? And it's names like these. So depending on the sector, the trade you're working in, hopefully some names you know there. But the common link really here is typically, if these are generally supply and fit subcontractors. We've got some main contractors in there, but generally they're supply and fit subcontractors or specialist subcontractors, involved in these kind of trades. Size-wise, we're not about going to the tier one main contractors. That's not what this is about. This is about working with smaller regional contractors. Typically, what we tend to see is a typical turnover for our customers range between somewhere like 5 million turnover up to about 100 million. That's our typical sweet spot, because most customers we see are using Excel for this work, and this is a natural progression to integrate everything and put it together. In terms of a bit of sort of testimonials or credibility, then if you go to the GoToMeeting control panel on your screen, there are a couple of case studies you can download. If you can't download them for any reason, please let us know and we can send them to you as PDFs. But what you'll see there is a couple of examples of how people are using this software in the real world and what it's doing to impact their business in terms of profitability, ultimately. So in this case, the quote here is, Chalkstring makes it easier to control costs, plan cash flow accurately, and ensure each project delivers the targeted profit. There's actually one of the case studies you can download covers a real life project where the contractor made significantly more margin at the end of the job by using the controls within Chalkstring. Again, if you can't get these, please let us know. We'll send them to you. So in summary, as we draw to a close, hopefully what you've seen, that looking purely at the procurement side of Chalkstring, so we haven't looked at estimating or valuations or applications, we haven't touched that today. But in terms of the procurement benefits, hopefully what you're seeing is it's accessible. So wherever you are, whatever device you're on, you can access this information in real time at your fingertips, all the information you need. It eliminates waste by virtue of the fact that you're only ordering what you need and you're making sure you're not overpaying suppliers. It should give you the confidence of what you need, even though things are moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour and changes are happening every day on site. It means you've got the confidence to order only what you need. It gives you visibility of absolutely every order and invoice in real time, simply at the click of a button, but not just the invoice, but all the associated information, the delivery tickets and the order. So you've got this completely connected web of information at your fingertips at all times from anywhere. Hopefully you can see it's very simplistic. I mean, what I've done today is not a complex procedure, but it means that you can open up any invoice, easily reconcile it, check it with a 3-point check process with warnings. If you have fluctuating, probably the word fluctuating is wrong because fluctuate implies going down as well as up, ever increasing prices from multiple suppliers, it helps you manage all these different price lists as they change. Particularly if you've got lots of different suppliers and lots of different individual price lists, you can handle the changes. There's a productivity angle. So by automating POs and manually working through these processes, it means you can be a lot more efficient and you're not introducing errors because you're automating things. It gives you the ability to analyze your spend, whether it is on a project level or it's a much wider business level over the last year or so for your rebate checking. And ultimately, that's all well and good, but if you can't control this, it's useless. So it's about using permissions to make sure people can only access what they need to see or what you want them to see at a confidential level. So those are the main benefits of the system, and hopefully that's self-evident. Thank you very much for your time to listen to the webinar today. Hopefully you found it useful. If you wish more information or you wish to look at a full demonstration of the whole system, please contact me. We have got a couple of minutes left. We budgeted 45 minutes for this webinar, so I've got a couple of minutes, and we've had some questions come in, which I'm just going to read through. Okay, I've got four questions here. So hang on just 2 seconds. So can you only order what's in the material bill? Okay, so yeah, so someone's asking, can we only order what's in the material bill? Well, if we go back to the software and open up that project, so let's go back to the this same project we were on and go back to the materials section. So when I showed you earlier on, we were looking at these materials here, and these are the materials we've added into the purchase order. This material bill only covers materials you need based on the ever-changing scope of your contract. You can, anytime you want to go beyond that, we have this option for what we call a contingency material. Contingency material is something that you want to order that isn't in the scope, which is fine. And obviously you can over order if you wanted to. So for example, if I wanted to order another 100 meters of that for whatever reason, whoops, I can do that, no problems whatsoever, but it will go red to warn you that you've now just exceeded the balance you require there. So yes, you can order anything you want, whatever volume you want of it, and you can order anything at all, and the software just records it as what's called contingency. So you can do that. This is topical. Say you're on allocation, which I guess a lot of people are now. So say you're on allocation and you need to switch to another supplier. How can you do that, or are you committed to your supplier? Okay. So let's say, for example, I want to order this material here. We can see by looking at this that this is actually currently allocated to SIG as my chosen supplier at £1.24. But you do have the option in there to be able to, if you want to switch. So if SIG can't actually deliver this order, I can swap it to another supplier on the go. So if I move that to Travis Perkins, for example, you can see the internet changes the price, which then filters through the rest of the contract because it assumes you've got to buy everything from that company. And also in there, it now allocates it to Travis Perkins for the PO. So yes, you can chop and change between suppliers. You're not locked down on that. And you can edit this either here or you could do it en masse for the whole project. So yeah, you've got total flexibility as you'd expect there. What about multiple invoices and delivery notes? Yeah, good question. So on this order, we go back to the order I placed for you. So on this screen here, this is the one I did with you earlier on where we ordered from CCF. We put one POD in there and we did one invoice. Yeah, you can have as many delivery tickets as you want in here, no problems at all. I mean, if you have a second delivery comes in now, let's just say it's been delivered in full, automatically for the site manager, it fills in the balance of the materials. And again, he can take a copy of the POD on his phone, just like before. And when you update that total, you can now see this is deemed to be a fulfilled order because it's now we've had delivered what we've ordered. And you can see I've got 2 PODs there. And it's the same with invoices. If you've got multiple invoices, you can have multiple invoices in here. And of course, credit notes. So if you're waiting for a credit to balance out an order, this will take positive and negative numbers in here, obviously. So yeah, you can have multiple invoices and delivery notes. And the last question, the fourth question I've got here, and we're running out of time, is our site managers don't do, inverted commas, don't do tech. How can we record deliveries? So that's down to this bit here, I guess, is when you record deliveries, as you've seen, the site manager can go into the software. They'd have a locked down view of the software because their permissions presumably would be reduced to what you want them to see, which may just be deliverers or may not be. They can take a photograph of the POD and put it into the system. If they can't or don't want to do that, then there are other ways. They could, for example, take a photograph of the POD, email it into your office, deliveries at whatever the email address is. And then your admin team potentially could put the PODs into the system so that you've got this constant audit trail here, everything at your fingertips, so that whenever an invoice needs checking, you've got everything attached to it. Here you can go in and see all the deliveries, all the PODs, the order number, etc. So yeah, you can do that. A lot of this is about workflows. If you go back to my previous slide here regarding the different people, this is diagrammatic. These are the key people we tend to see are involved, but every business is different. Smaller businesses will have people wearing multiple hats. Bigger businesses will be very regimented. But yes, you can use Chalkstring however you wish. So that's, I think we're running out of time. I've gone a couple of minutes over the 45 minutes. So guys, for now, I'm going to say thank you very much indeed for your time. I hope that was a useful webinar. As I say, if you wish to speak with us, find out more, or indeed book a full demonstration for the rest of the software, please let us know. If you have any questions we haven't answered, we'll do our best to get back to you on those. And thank you very much indeed for your time and attendance, and have a great day. Many thanks.